FLOWEY is the main antagonist and villain of the game Undertale. Most people would agree to this. After all, his evil and twisted personality can be seen even in the very first appearance. But as you go through the game, it becomes more and more clear how truly sad the existence of FLOWEY really is. But before I can explore his character, we first have to cover some prior knowledge, such as Undertale's most prominent theme of determination. While the theme of not giving up and staying determined keeps reappearing through the game, we later find out that determination is much more than that. In Undertale, determination is not only the will to live on and move forward, but it's also connected to souls being able to persist after death and the ability to save. And all of those different effects of it make up the complexity in the main antagonist, FLOWEY. But before we talk about his character, we need to further define determination and the correlation between it and FLOWEY. First of all, if a monster without a soul gains too much determination, it will gain the will to live, pretty much making it a soulless being crossing the borders of life and death. This is exactly what happened to FLOWEY, but I'll get to that later. Second of all, in the True Lab, Elf has found a way to create concentrated determination, which can be injected into monsters. And third of all, the most determined being in the underground gains the ability to save, load, and reset. Now, in order to fully understand FLOWEY, we need to start from the beginning. Back to when FLOWEY still had his soul and was known as the Prince Asriel. And back when our first human, Kara, fell into the underground. Kara, for unknown reasons, had a strong hatred towards humanity, so much that they were planning to erase all humankind. Well, after Kara fell into the underground, Asriel was the one who found them, and by becoming friends with him, Kara was pretty much adopted into the royal family. And even though they lived a seemingly happy life, Kara never forgot their dream to kill every human. So they came up with a pretty twisted plan. First, they decided to poison themselves, which ended up in their death. Kara did that because they knew exactly what Asriel would do next. After all, before Kara died, they mentioned to Asriel how much they would love to see the field of golden flowers in their village. By doing so, Kara manipulated Asriel into absorbing their soul, becoming an incredible powerful being that could transcend through the barrier. Asriel, thinking that Kara would like to be buried under the field of golden flowers that they mentioned, carried them into the village, just how Kara planned. At this stage, Kara was trying to get control over Asriel's body, since they were sharing it. But they failed. So when the villagers, who thought that Asriel had killed Kara, were attacking him, he didn't retaliate. Even though Kara wanted him to fight back, wanted him to start killing the humans, he didn't. Instead, he got fatally wounded and ran back into the underground, where he then died in the royal garden. So in the end, Asriel destroyed Kara's plans of revenge. In Kara's eyes, he betrayed them. This is also what was referenced at the end of the genocide run. So Kara, who Asriel considered his friend, his sibling, just wanted to use him for their own dream. After Asriel died, his dust got spread all over the royal garden, where they would later plant golden flowers, while Kara's body got buried near the ruins under another field of golden flowers. The same place where Frisk would later fall onto, absorbing the soul of Kara. So, what happened to FLOWEY then? Well, after Asriel's death, Alphys started her experiments with determination, but she needed a soulless test subject. She noticed that one of the golden flowers in the royal garden was growing faster than the others and decided to use it as her test subject. This very flower was covered in Ezreal's dust, and so the flower regained the will to live and became the Flowey that we know. But I don't think that you could say that Flowey was alive. No, he had no soul and felt no love. He was just an empty being without a goal, without anything. Hell, he even met his own father after all this time, but couldn't even feel any love towards him. The same happened with Toriel, his own mother. So, in the end, he felt all alone. Having nothing to do, having no ambitions. He became bored. But remember what I said? The most determined being in the underground gets the ability to save. And around that time, that being was Flowey. So what would a soulless being without anything to do, without being able to love and with the ability to save and load do? Well, he started to mess with the monsters, seeing them only as characters. He tried all the different options. He tried everything that came into his mind, but even that couldn't still his boredom forever. So he started killing monsters. Sounds awfully familiar or not? After all, everyone who played all the routes ended up doing the exact same thing. Maybe even you, played the game, tried various dialogue options and eventually decided to try the genocide route, just to see what would happen. In the end, that would mean that you're morally on the same level as a soulless flower that doesn't even have the ability to love. And yet, when you first met Flowey, you probably judged him pretty harshly for his behavior. Ironic, isn't it? Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, Flowey started killing random monsters. But with his scientific background, Sans eventually started to realize what was going on and tried to stop him. Just like how he did with Frisk, or rather Kara, in the genocide run. Speaking of Frisk, once they fell into the underground, they were the most determined being there, meaning that they stole the save ability from Flowey. Flowey only regains this ability back in the neutral and pacifist runs, where he becomes incredibly powerful. Actually, no matter which route you go, Flowey will always suffer the consequences of both his and your actions. In the neutral run, for example, you either decide to kill him or let him go, which means that he's still just a soulless flower. In genocide, you brutally murder him after he begs for forgiveness, even though he only wanted to stop Kara from killing all the humans. And the true pacifist ending might even be the most cruel one. After absorbing all the monster souls, he regains his love, regains his feelings. But after you open his eyes, he finally understands the love that all the monsters feel towards you. So he lets go of this chance. He realizes what a monster he has become and releases all the souls, reverting back to being soulless. And then, everyone that was once dear to him, his friends, even his own family, go to the overworld, all thanks to him destroying the barrier. And he, all alone, has to stay in the underground. After all, he can't go with them. Who knows when he starts becoming bored again, when he loses the feeling of love and starts brutally killing the others again. And he knows that just as well. So instead, he decides to stay in the underground, locking himself away where he will have to stay forever, all alone. He is the only one who doesn't get saved, roaming the depressing ruins which are now completely empty, without being able to feel anything positive. And that was his fate, forever. But hey, at least you got the happy ending that you definitely deserve, right?